All right, guys, welcome back. We got another episode, and we got Tony, and I'm going to call you the Team Tiger because that's how my baseball coach growing up, that's what we called him. And you have a similar personality, high energy, big smile. And the reason I even have you here is probably because of Justin Prince and that relationship that you have with him. And I'm pumped to be able to jam with you today. This is an individual who is a high level dude. You've had over 1.5 million customers, done over let's see, what, $500 million in sales?
Yeah.
You started out with a taco truck with your mom in Minneapolis?
In Milwaukee.
That's where you're at now.
Yeah, I'm in Minneapolis now.
In Milwaukee, and that's a cool story. We'll kind of dive into that a little bit because I want to hear more about that.
Yeah.
But he's just an infectious guy. Like, you watch his stuff on social. His wife is a killer, both of them. So I think we're going to learn a lot today. Let's just get into it. Let's just dive into your life. So growing up as a kid, you kind of got your first taste of entrepreneurship how old did you say you were? 15?
Yeah, 15. Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that. What was that like?
Yeah, so I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, middle class, mom and dad working their guts out. I have two older sisters, younger brothers, so there's four of us. And, they just always gave us the best, even though they didn't have a lot. Like, they were just so committed to making sure we won in life and we had a great life, and they were just phenomenal. The love, and, they pushed us into sports. They wanted us to be, always doing something, not just sitting around. And I just never forget this day because my mom was a secretary at an electric company, and she just, wanted more in life, like I was saying. And she basically was really good because my mom's 100% Mexican and my dad's 100% Polish. And everyone thinks I'm Italian. They're like, Tony, Italian. And I'm like, no, keep guessing. Asian. No, keep guessing, But, so everyone's like, oh my God, I would have never guessed that. But my mom can cook, and my mom's got this, she can make taco meat like no other. The whole Mexican cuisine is just off the charts. And she used to sell tacos in bars. So back in the day, and they still have it today, is you have these softball leagues, and bars would sponsor them. And it was big in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, big softball town. And she would go to these bars and she would sell tacos in the back and to all the softball teams. And then all of a sudden she said, and she'd make a couple $100, on a Tuesday night, on a Wednesday night, on a Thursday. And again, just trying to make some extra money for the fam. And she then all of a sudden goes, I got an idea. And we're like, what, Mom? She goes, I have a chance to buy an old Snap-on tool truck. And I'm like, okay, what are we going to do with that? She goes, we're going to gut it, and we're going to put all these glass windows on it. We're going to put a big grill on it, and I'm going to set up a little kitchen in there. We're going to call it Tacos on Wheels. So we had this whole thing mapped out with a sombrero and wheels. That was our logo. And she's like, we're going to go downtown to the bars, we'll get there at 9 o'clock at night and work the bars till 3 in the morning, and we're going to sell tacos. And I'm like, cool, let's do it. And I never forget, she brought the truck into that neighborhood, and all the kids, all the parents were running out, checking out this thing, because this was like in 1985.
Way better than an ice cream truck.
Oh, yeah, way better than an ice cream truck. And no one had taco trucks, food trucks back then. It was us and the hot dog guy. You know what I mean? That was it. And we would go down to bars, and we would set up, and we would crush from like 9 at night till 3 in the morning.
Wow.
And we would just work our tails off.
Tacos.
There'd be nights we'd make $1,000. There'd be nights we'd make $700, $1,500. But we just, I learned a couple things. I learned that, man, being in business is really awesome. You know what I mean? And having a product that people like and people will buy, and being in that environment, you can really do good. And, I just watched my mom, think bigger and have a little bigger vision for what we could do in life. So that's what we did for probably 5-6 years.
Yeah. And
it was a blast, and I got so good at, just connecting with people. It's a shy kid. Back then I was like, it was hard for me to look people in the eyes and, really, have a conversation with them and get to know people. I was shy. I was laid back. I was timid. But that really gave me an opportunity, because I'd worked a window. My mom worked a grill, where I could really start interacting with people. And I was taking money, starting conversations with them, asking them little questions. And I'm like, oh, man, people are pretty interesting. You know what I mean? Especially when they have a couple cocktails in them. It's like, oh, my gosh. And anyways, that was an absolute blast.
You got a lot of reps in at an early age. So I'm curious to know, I mean, as a kid, where did you ever think about that? Because now, if you look at you now, like you're out, you're a public speaker, you help people with addiction recovery, you're doing reels on social media all the time. Like you're out there, people can tell already, just you're infectious, you have high energy. I'm just curious to know when that switched. I mean, did you feel like it was a process through 15, 16, 17, 18, like that 5 years?
Great question. I think it happened probably when I was 21, 22, because what happened is we got out of the taco business in 1991, and that's when I got into network marketing, and I never knew anything about network marketing. I went to a meeting. They were doing it office building, and when I walked in, I just met people that had high energy. They looked great, they were motivated, they were excited. And I sat in the back of the room that night, and there were all these testimonials at the end of the meeting. And the last one was a kid that was 19 years old, my age. And he goes, man, I'm really excited. I just got started in this business. I just got my first check. It was $1,500. I have no idea what I'm doing, but man, this business is awesome. And I remember elbowing my mom, because she was with me and my sister was on my other side. And I go, I can do that. Did you hear that story? I can do that. And I started doing network marketing. And back then we worked out of offices, but we went to trainings every week in different cities. So we would like load up a van, and 6 of us would go and drive. And these trainings were 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we would learn about people skills. We would learn about leadership skills. We would learn how to sell. We would learn persuasion. We would learn how to close, how to follow up. We would learn how to think bigger, how to get people to, dream again. And all of a sudden I started like becoming the man I am today. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got talent in me. I got potential in me. Like I have skills in me. I've got all these things that are locked inside of me. And I'm like, I'm starting to open them up. So I think, the whole personal development, the whole learning, the whole growing, and these were $300 trainings every single week. And I didn't miss any of them. And I didn't have the money, but, I was able to borrow the money from my mom, and then I'd make my check every month and pay her back, right? But that's kind of where I started getting a bigger picture of who I could really become.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, just bootstrap from the beginning, but I think about that and just like, here's a shy kid that now turns into you, but like all the people that you're around, I think is such a key for those that are listening is like who you surround yourself with is who you're going to become one day. And then, I mean, now fast forward, and we'll kind of go through this now, but the successful person that you are today, had you not taken that step, you would have been on a different path. Now, here's a question that I just thought of, though, while you were talking about that. Did you always, I ask this to a lot of people, but I'm just curious, with you, do you feel like you were, at a young age, you always knew, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to make a lot of money, or when did that hit?
No, I think that hit probably when I was 25 years old, that I really figured that.
So even at 20, I mean, that's late. Like,
Oh yeah. I was just like, again, I was not the most talented, the most, outspoken, or motivated at that age when I got started. But I knew that if I could be around the right people, and I wasn't good at making money early on in that business. Actually, for 3 years, I didn't make much. I just made enough to keep going and going and going and going. And I know a lot of my friends at the time were like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that thing? Like, it's not really making you any money. You're never around. We can't hang out and do the fun things we used to do, which, back then the fun things were, hanging out, drinking a lot of beer, you know what I mean? Partying a lot. And I think about it, and, that's not a great life either. But I just remember being around a group of people that were really good in business with communication, just good humans that had good hearts, that were great presenters, that were really good at, making money in that business. And I got into that group, and they loved me because they seen I was motivated, and they seen that I wanted this so bad, and
You're hungry.
and I was hungry, and I was willing to do anything, you know, turn left, turn right, and they kept me around them. And I'm really grateful for that group of people, because if they wouldn't have kept me around them and they would have pushed me away, I would have got out. And I don't know what would have happened in my life at that point.
Yeah. That's huge. I'm thinking about your parents, right? Like, so you didn't have that feeling until like 25. You grew up not like super poor, right? But you didn't have a ton of money, right?
Nope.
But here's a question that I get a lot from people.
Yeah.
Or here's something that comes up a lot, and I want to touch on this, and I want you to touch on it because you're a perfect example. There's so many people that grow up like that.
Yeah.
And they feel like they're kind of under their parents' thumb.
Yep.
Or that's what they learned, or that's what they were taught, or the school system taught them a certain way, or their parents' example, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're not able to like change that soundtrack in their mind to be able to think bigger.
Yep.
How does somebody do that? How does somebody think bigger and change their life like you have?
Yeah, I think the number one thing you got to do is you got to go, you know what? This is my life. This is all on me. Mom and dad ain't going to pay my bills forever. My friends ain't going to pay my bills, right? The people that are around me, you know, that are saying this or saying that, they're not going to pay my bills, and they're not going to take care of me long term. And you got to make a decision to go, you know what? I am going to figure it out, and I am going to be around people. I'm going to be around content. I'm going to be around, you know, things that really excite me, motivate me. They're triggers inside of us that if we learn how to, you know, just flip the switch, I call it, inside of us, all of a sudden, now you start seeing things bigger, and you start looking at things a different way. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can do this more. And I journal a lot. I've always journaled a lot. When I was broke, where I'm at today, I have these notebooks, and I'm a guy, I just like writing. Imagination is everything, right? And most people squeeze their imagination. Most people in their whole life, they go through and their imagination is squeezed, and they're not creative. They don't think about things. They just go, you know what? I'm just going through the motions, and I'm just, making it happen every single day, and I'm just following everybody else because that's what I was taught to do. But I journaled a lot, and I would always journal stuff like where I'm at today, where I see myself in 90 days, 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years. It's kind of like I had a blueprint for my life in these journals. And I would always just keep reading them and writing and reading them and writing. But I made a decision a long time ago to go, you know what? I'm going for this thing. So I'm going to pick the people I want to be around. I'm going to pick the stuff that I want to learn. I'm going to figure out what I got to do to keep growing. And I'm going to do this, and I'm going to have a blast doing it. And I don't care what anybody thinks. That was a big thing. Like validation from other people, and especially people you love and trust and your whole life. I mean, most people live their life for other people and go through the motions for other people, and you got to let that go.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. My word, and I mean it in like the kindest way, but it's like if somebody wants something from my life that I don't want, or they expect something out of me that I don't want, I just think, screw you.
Yeah.
And I don't mean it in a mean way.
No.
It's just the way that my brain can just be like, this isn't your life. Like, this is my world and what I'm living. And if you want to jump on board with it, great. You can be part of the tribe.
Yeah.
The ERIC GUBLER tribe or the Tony tribe, like whatever. But if you're not, then hey, that's fine. Like, let's shake hands and move different ways because I want to go where I want to go.
Yeah.
But going back to journaling a little bit, I don't know why, but my mom, when I was probably 10 years old, she's like, you should journal. And for some reason, I listened to her.
Yeah.
I don't know why at 10 years old. And I started, and I still have some of those journals. They're like these really, I have one that's like a cat. And I'm like, I don't know why my mom gave me this cat journal.
Oh my gosh.
And like my writing is so bad and so big, but I developed the habit at an early age. And as I've gone on through life, one of the things that it's taught me, and somebody said this, I can't remember which mentor said this, but I think it was actually a life coach that I've had that told me when you journal and you're putting down what you have maybe accomplished for the day or gratitude or whatever, your brain is going a million miles an hour. Like if we think about it, the speed of thought is so fast. We can almost think like 3 to 5 things all at once.
Yeah.
But we can't get it out of our mouth fast enough. So we're just revved up.
Yeah.
When we write something in a journal, we're forced to slow down because your pen can only move so fast with your hand. So it forces your brain to focus and slow down, and then you start to dream and create your life. And it just eliminates all this noise.
Wow, I love that.
And I love that because I've kind of done that throughout my life, and I still do it, and I feel that way. Sometimes it's just a dump.
Yeah.
So that if I'm worried or stressed about something, it's just like dump it and I'm good.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's gratitude. And I'm just grateful for, hey, my life, my wife, my kids, business, something that happened that day. And then that brings that grateful feeling that I can wake up with the next morning. And it could just be, hey, this is what happened today that's neutral.
Yeah.
But the habit, I think, is so important. And I love hearing you say that because it makes me feel like, hey, maybe I'm on the right path. You know?
Yeah. No, it's a big thing. I think the more you can spend some time alone, we're such in a busy world, right? And there's noise everywhere. But, if you can take some time every day, and I don't care how much time you take, but just, get to a quiet place or get to, everyone's got kids and families and stuff going on, businesses. But if you can still, and I still, do that on a regular basis, get to my quiet place whenever that is. It's sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes in the evening. It just depends on what the day looks like for me. But I still, I'm by myself and I'm writing stuff out, or I'm just by myself thinking about things, you know what I mean, with my eyes closed and just taking my time. Like that stuff, that's what I need to re-energize me and to sometimes refocus me, or sometimes get me seeing things a little bit different. You know what I mean?
Clear,
that maybe clearer than I've seen them maybe the day before or the week before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, again, we're such in this busy world today where, so many people they don't take time anymore for themselves. And that's really important today.
And you forget, right? Like I forget sometimes what happened that morning.
Oh, yeah.
But when I journal it, it's like, you start to think, okay, this is what I did today, and is this leading up to where I want to go in life?
That's right.
And if you don't put that down, it's like you're just scrambling.
Yeah.
Like you're just floating down life, and it's taking you where it wants to take you.
That's right.
When you journal, it's like, oh, hey, I did this, and this task today, but this doesn't line up. This doesn't line up. And so I need to offload that or change that or get away from that, whatever, to be able to go where I want to go.
I love that.
If you're not journaling, I tell people this all the time. Like if you're not journaling, you don't get to see that.
Right.
Right. But shifting gears back, like it's so easy, I feel like, to see people like you that are successful and have money and built an empire and all this stuff. But it wasn't always easy. It never is. Right.
It never is.
It's sometimes, I think, important to share like the struggle. And you had an addiction for a little while.
Yeah.
You care to open up about that?
I'd love to talk about that, Eric. I mean, I was, drugs and alcohol really started ramping up, in my early 20s to my, late 30s, before I got sober in 2010. And it just really crippled me. Early on, I was able to use and drink and still kind of function and work and be productive. And then the last 5 years, it just really got me paranoid. I would disappear.
5 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
A long time. I fell off a 3-story building, and was in intensive care for 2 weeks fighting for my life as my body was shutting down. And no one knew where I was. Mom and dad didn't know where I was. Friends didn't know where I was. And I had no idea. I had nothing on me. And I'm in this room with all these lights and doctors and machines and stuff. And I'm coming in and out of consciousness. And I'm literally fighting for my life. And, I didn't really know what was going on at that moment, but as I got, later into a week there, 2 weeks there, and I was just praying like, God, let me out of this room. You know what I mean? Just let me walk again. Let me see my mom and dad again. Let me see my brothers and sisters again. Let me see my family. And, it was just wild. And, God said, yes, I'm going to let you out of this one. You know what I mean? And I got back out of there, and it took me about 6 months to recover and, get back on my feet and get my, body back in motion again and working again. But I mean, addiction just took a stronghold on me. And, I did it because, I didn't know how to deal with stuff that was bothering me and stuff that affected me. And, I remember I was 10 years old, and, this is something I had to work through, just talking to the people I talk to. I do a lot of, people call it therapy, you know what I mean? Sure. I call it growth, where, you can talk to people about, your life or about things going on inside of your stuff that happened to you, or stuff that, you're ashamed of to talk about, or you just, you put down, inside of you, and you never bring it up. But I mean, I'm a big fan of getting it out and talking about it and dealing with it and going, okay, how can we move forward? Okay, it's not my fault. You know what I mean? I forgive myself. I forgive others. Two powerful things you can do in your life is forgive others and forgive yourself, But I remember at like 10 years old, 3rd grade, 4th grade, something like that. I got olive skin, and I was in a school where, everyone had white skin. I had olive skin. And I remember sitting in this class, and this kid drew a picture, and, basically, he started passing it around the classroom to all the kids, and everyone started laughing and pointing at me. And when the picture came to me, it was me, and I was a stick picture of me, and I was shaded, with the pencil. I was shaded in dark, and everyone else was white, and I was circled. And I thought, and I looked at this, and the guy that did it, Dana, I looked at him, and he was laughing and pointing at me, calling me a loser. And I'll never forget, because that day I changed. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think, I'd be loved, or I could love. I didn't think I could win in life. Like, all these things at 10 years old started coming in my mind that really, and again, it took me another 25 years to figure out what happened in that moment for me. You know what I mean? But that was a big turning point for me when I was able to bring that up out of me and just go, no, I forgive Dana. You know what I mean? I am an incredible human being. I do love people. I can accept love. I'm not different. I'm not a weirdo. You know what I mean? Just because my skin is darker, who cares? You know what I mean? But that screwed me up for a long time. Just that little moment. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and there's other things that, I just would drink and use because I didn't know how to deal with them. I didn't know how to talk through it. I didn't know how to work through it. I didn't know how to figure out how to get to the other side of it. You know what I mean? So I would just do more cocaine. I would just drink more alcohol. You know what I mean? Until, and I'd go on these runs of 2, 3, 4 days. And then I got married in 2005, and my wife that married me, she's the most amazing woman ever, she didn't know I was an addict because I hid it. So now the first 5 years of our marriage, we're building a business together. We're trying to have kids. That's not going well. We're having miscarriages. And she's figuring out, oh my God, I just married a addict alcoholic, and I'm figuring this out. And now I'm trying to, put all this together. You know what I mean? And it was hard. Yeah. It was tough.
Lots of stress. All
oh
at
my
once.
Gosh.
I love that, that you're willing to share that, because everybody has some kind of trauma that they either need to transform or they're going to transmit it.
Yeah.
They're going to transmit it to their kids. They're going to transmit it to somebody else. Maybe Dana transmitted something that he was struggling with, right?
Yeah.
You chose to transform it at some point in your life. But I agree. I think that everything, like all addiction, comes from you're stressed, you're bored, you're lonely, you're angry, you're tired, you're something, and your brain is seeking for something to numb that.
Right.
And so you either go, it could be a myriad of things. And then when you go there and you get that hit, and then you feel the low again, maybe you feel shame and guilt or whatever. And then you go to low, and then it's like your brain starts to think to itself like, hey, where did I get that last hit? And then it's like, oh yeah, it was alcohol.
Yeah.
Let me go back there. And you're like, no, I don't want to go there. We're like, no, this will make you feel better. And then you go back. Yeah. And then it's the whole cycle all over again.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we all have something. Like, we all struggle with something, but you just chose to transform it. And I think that's so powerful.
Yeah. I mean, I think one is I knew that my luck was going to come to an end, where if I didn't stop, I'd either be in jail because I did something to myself or to somebody else because I was high, or, I would have died, and in 2010, I just remember I was coming off 4 or 5 days of using. And at that point, I had so much guilt, and I was so ashamed of myself when you get coming down and you're trying to get sober. And I was just like on the floor crying, and I was crying out. And I just said, God, I don't want to use anymore. take this away from me. Like, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to crave it anymore. I don't want to chase it anymore. Just, God, you can do this. And I cried out for 10 hours. And I fell asleep. I don't even remember falling asleep, but the next day I woke up, it was gone. My craving was gone. And that was May 15th, 2010.
Wow.
Yeah. And now it's kind of like, I love my life more than ever today. And I just love pouring back into addicts, alcoholics, people dealing with stuff, people addicted, people running this way, running that way, that, you know, are losing their families, are losing their kids, are losing their life, are losing their careers, losing their businesses, losing everything because, you know, they can't stop and they can't talk to anybody and really have a conversation, and no one can get them. And, you know, most people want to correct them and scream at them and, you know, yell at them and tell them, just stop. You just, why do you keep using stop? And, you know, that doesn't work for an addict, right? And my thing is just, how can I connect, listen, and do whatever I can do to put them back on the path that someone helped me get on as well.
That's awesome. That's just powerful, man. I love that. I love that you're doing that for people, and that you're able to change yourself, and now you're giving back to a lot of people that are struggling in that way, because it sucks. And you felt that pain. Yeah. And you're like, now I want to help people get out of that pain. That's so powerful.
Right. That's right.
Cool.
And, you know, I think for me too, it helps me, you know what I mean? Me giving giving back. It helps me as much as it's helping them, you know? And I want to make sure that's crystal clear, because, you know, again, I'm nowhere near to being perfect today, but I know this, you know, I take it one day at a time, and I'm just always thinking, okay, who can I serve today? Who can I help today? Who can I share my story with today? And I think my best signature talks on stages all around the world is when I share my sobriety story. That story, that talk gets more messages, more comments, more, you know, people privately grabbing me saying, oh my gosh, I needed to hear that. And then there's the story, right? Whether it's them, whether it's their husband, their wife, their cousin, their friend, the people they go here with, there with. And they're just like, oh my gosh, I needed that. You know, can I put you together with so-and-so? Can I put you together with so-and-so?
Because it gives them permission.
Yeah.
Because, like, nobody wants to share that because it's vulnerable. Yeah. And they don't want people to look down on them, right?
Right.
But then when you get on stage and they see the successful person, you just gave them permission that, one, you can change. Yeah. You can become something. All these thoughts and these negative self-talk, feelings, thoughts that go through your head every single day when you're using, hey, you can change that, and you can, like, live the life that you want to live. And that's what you're giving them permission to do in that moment. So it's like, yeah, of course they're going to reach out and say thank you, because you gave them permission to change their life.
That's right.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's something I love doing every single day. And, you know, it's part of my story. It's part of who I am and what I'm supposed to do on this planet right now. Your purpose. Yeah. And I just, you know, I'm around that world, and I'll always be around that world. And, you know, it brings me joy, and it just gives me a reason to wake up in the morning and get on fire for life for the day. You know what I mean? It's like, awesome. Who am I going to meet today? Who can I share my story with today? Who am I going to be able to, you know, be a part of, you know, getting them back on track so they can go crush life?
Brene Brown talks about how vulnerability is like the connector. Yeah. Like, people can like, it is one of the deepest connectors, because when you're vulnerable, you're basically saying, I trust you with my story. And then people are like, whoa, you know, and then they feel comfortable to tell you theirs because you started that, right? That vulnerability. But people struggle with it, right? And so, and you struggled with it, I'm sure, at some point. But for the listeners that are listening today, that want bigger things, that want to be better, that want to achieve more in their life, vulnerability is a huge part of that. How do people become more vulnerable?
Yeah, it's a great question. That right there is everything, because, you know, for years, I couldn't share my story. For years, I couldn't tell people I was sober. For years, I couldn't, like, really go out there and lay it on the line. And I thought I'd be humiliated. I thought people would laugh at me. I thought people would, you know, say, oh man, what a loser that guy is, you know? And I remember one day I was talking to my wife, and she said, why aren't you telling your story? Why aren't you getting vulnerable? Why aren't you being really true and real and going out there and just laying it on the line. I said, I'm scared, Sarah. Like, I'm scared. I don't want to. Like, I just don't know what everyone's going to think. And I remember doing my first video, my vulnerable video about my story and just about my struggles. And I just remember it blowing up. And people reaching out to me, and I got goosebumps now thinking about it.
Because I can see it.
I know, because I was
legit.
like, I was just like, oh my gosh, what the heck? Why was I so scared? Why was I so like not wanting to be real? Like, this is what the world wants. This is what the world connects with.
Yeah.
Like, what was I thinking? And I did it, and I was free. I was free. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And everything changed that day, because I was like, I can be Tony. People will love me and accept me for who I am. And you know what? If people want to laugh and people want to point fingers and people want to say this and say that, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. And because I saw how much of an impact it made on so many people, where the 90% that was like, oh my gosh, to the 10% that were maybe like, whatever, it didn't matter, because the 90 trumped the 10.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yes.
That's about as good as you can get in life anyway.
And that's it. And I tell people, Eric, to this day, you know, when they're doing video or they're doing content and they're like, oh, it's not working. Oh, I'm not getting engagement. And I'm like, you're not telling your story. You're not being vulnerable. You're not really showing the real you. What do you mean? Yeah, no, you're not. Let's talk about it a little bit. And they'll start telling me their story off camera, offline, or whatever. And I'm like, that's what you need to do. Really? Why? People don't want to hear it. Yes, they do. Do it. And they do it. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're right. This was the most amazing thing ever for me and for my audience.
Crazy. I love that, dude.
Yeah, isn't it great?
I love that. I love everything about that.
Yeah.
Just being vulnerable and getting it. And I love that your wife was the one that kind of like pushed you to do it, because she's a rock star too.
Yeah, she is.
I mean, I haven't met her in person, but I've seen her stuff.
Yeah.
I've heard you talk about her, and you can tell right away from her social media stuff that she's a rock star. She thinks big.
Yep.
She's a motivator.
Yep.
She's a rock star. So that's cool. You married a good person for sure. Well, and then kind of to end it, I mean, you got this incredible business, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned already that it was tough to start it, at least before we were talking, you know, it was like, 5 years of grinding with Justin Prince.
Yeah, yeah.
You were one of the first ones that got involved with him. It was a Facebook message that you didn't even look at for 9 months?
Yeah.
Because you were pregnant with your son.
Yeah.
And then your wife looks back at her DMs and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Justin Prince messaged us. Let's meet with him."
Yeah.
You signed an NDA.
Yeah.
You went and met with him, and you're like, "Let's do it."
Yeah.
And then it was just grinding for years. Like, "Hey, Justin, like, I don't know if this is gonna work."
Yeah.
What clicked?
Couple things. So one, I always look at the people now, no matter what I do. I don't care how good the product, the service, the business, the comp plan, what it looks like. If the people aren't right, it doesn't really matter. It will fail. Huh. So one was Justin Prince, right? World class, just a guy that everything you see, he's that guy in 1,000% more. Like I call, he's a brother to me. He's a mentor to me. He's someone that I just love and respect, and someone that, you know, I'll follow anywhere because he is high integrity and he wants to help people and impact people. So one, I was like, man, we found the right guy, right? And then when we met the rest of the company, they were just as good as Justin, right? And I'm like, wow. It's very rare in this world today to find people with high integrity, high values, high morals, that really, it's not all about, oh, let's just make all this money.
And in network marketing.
Yes.
In that industry.
The profession is just crazy, right? With ups and downs, like a lot of professions, right? So one is the people. And then two was, you know, our vision. Our vision was so far out there early on when we got started with creating social retail and e-commerce and dual-sided comp plans and promo codes. And we were going to do something in network marketing, and we did do something in network marketing that no one's ever done, and we started that in 2013. But our vision was so far out there that we were just running to chase that vision, and we were just like, let's keep going. We're going to get there. It's still so far out there, but that helped us tremendously when we weren't making the money, when we were failing miserably, when we couldn't figure it out, when we were changing things constantly. We were trying to put the systems in place, but the systems weren't working, right? But we stayed the course. And it was crazy because when you're in that situation in life, no matter what you're doing, it's so easy to take a phone call, have a conversation with someone else, and then go, yeah, you're right. I need to go do something else. Yeah, you're right. I need to go down a new path. Yeah, you're right. This wasn't what I thought it was going to be, right? It's so easy to do that, and most people will. But if you can stay the course because the people are right, you feel good, the vision's out there, you feel good about everything that's around that vision, right? And then you're willing to learn new skills and get better, right? So many people want to point the finger today, Eric. And, I'm a big fan of taking personal responsibility, you know what I mean? And not blaming the company, not blaming, the way people are buying today, not blaming e-commerce, not blaming product pricing, right? That's all crap, right? And most people will take that easy route out, but most people won't say, no, I need to take personal responsibility and I got to get better. Like, I got to figure out how to present better. I got to figure out how to follow up better. I got to figure out how to close better so I can sell more and enroll more. I got to figure out how to scale my business so it gets to another level, right? I got to take personal responsibility. So I'm a big personal responsibility guy and not a blame guy. I'm like, no, that's on me. I'll figure it out. I'll get better so I can win. So all that was early on, and we stayed the course. And then we caught our groove, right? And when you catch a groove, you want to go pedal to the metal. Like, that's not the time where you want to then, take a month off or go in vacation mode or just go in relax mode. That's when you want to go pedal to the metal and take what you've been building and take that momentum, those early stages of momentum, and just put it into, heavy momentum. And we did that. And no business is perfect, Eric, because that's what I found today is you're going to have a set of problems and issues in every business out there today. There's not one out there that's perfect. So you just got to be okay.
Stress-free, right?
Yeah, you just got to say, you know what? I'm okay with doing this and dealing with this. Yeah. And stop talking about the problems 24/7 and get solutions and get answers that are going to create a different narrative, create a different story, create a different spin to what you're doing, right? And fight through it. You know what I mean? There's, being an entrepreneur, it's the best thing in the whole wide world, but it is not easy. You know what I mean? You are going to be challenged in every aspect of your life. It's an emotional business. It's a challenging business. And you've got to figure out, okay, why did I say yes to this? Okay. What does my vision look like, right? What new skills do I need to figure out and get really good at? What systems do I need to put in place? And what freaking people do I need to be around me right now that can really push me? Like, so many people are afraid to be around people that really will scale them and push them and grow them and make them think a different way because they want to be King Kong in their little sphere of people. You know what I mean? And that's fine. I mean, if most people want to do that in life, go do it. But what I know is this, is that if you're always around people, and I try to stay around a circle that I'm always on the bottom, and I'm like, pull me up. I'll do the work, but just be willing to pull me up. You know what I mean? Because I'll put the time in, I'll figure out the skills, I'll figure out what I got to get better at. But I always want to be around people that are challenging me, pushing me. You know what I mean? They're stretching me. They're making me think differently. And I don't want to be comfortable. Anytime I get comfortable, I know it's not a good place for Tony Zolecki. So I'm always like, how do I stay uncomfortable? How do I stay challenged? How do I keep giving myself assignments every single day? How do I keep growing and being around the right people, not only in network marketing, but in real estate, right? In money management, in all these different areas that I think, are areas that you should know people that are really good at or really have an understanding there so that you can live a great life and have a great life. Because one thing about network marketing is if most people that get really good at it, they make a lot of money. Yeah. I mean, it's money that comes in every 30 days and it's crazy good money. But my whole goal is, okay, let's, take that money and let's grow it in other businesses. Let's grow it in other areas, right? And all that stuff helps too if you have that right circle that I was talking about.
I love that. Man, like so many good gems right there.
Yeah.
I mean, we could just like create probably 10 reels from what you just said. Like they're just like bangers.
Yeah.
I love that. Like I said, I love so many things, so many thoughts that come to my mind of like, There's a book, The Obstacle is the Way, where you just mentioned it, like, quit looking at the problem and let's find solutions. The whole book to me of The Obstacle is the Way is obstacles are inevitable in life and pain is a constant, and you're just going to have all these setbacks and hurdles. But it's not about the, oh, shiz, this happened to me moment, because everybody's going to feel like, oh, crap. Yeah. Like, this sucks in any business, like you said. But it's all about, like, this gap of, you know, some people will worry and focus on that one thing their entire life. It's all they can talk about. Yeah. And we know people like this, like, oh, back when I got a divorce back in 83, you know, it's like, oh, that's when my whole life went downhill. And it's all, and they just blame that one thing for the reason why they're not winning. Yeah. And like your whole, like, I'm going to take personal responsibility, right? But in the book, it's like, it's all about, okay, how quickly can you get over that gap? Like, how quickly can you get from like, oh, crap, to like, here's let's solution mode. Yeah. And like the whole thing is like, okay, fail faster. Like, you're going to feel that pain and that failure or whatever. But like the faster you can find a solution, you grow and you grow and you grow. That's so and that was everything that you just said, like wrapped in this like cool little, the story, not little, the cool story that you have and how you've been able to like grow this mountain of success. The other thing that I thought of to point out is like, if you're going to be in business, you might as well make money. Yeah. Like you're going to feel the stress and the pain. My uncle taught me that. He was a successful, he had storage units and he had real estate and he had a lot going for him. And he was pretty well off. And he told me when I was a young kid, he said, you know what, Eric, if you're going to work, you might as well make money, because work is just going to be working. Like there's going to be stress with it. So at least you should be rewarded for your stress. I love that. Work hard today for an easier tomorrow. And make money to be able to go invest and do things with. So you've been a great example of that. Dude, I appreciate you coming on. Oh my gosh. Like, your energy is insane. And like I said earlier when we were talking, is like, I just knew that we were going to meet someday, because I've just like, it's weird. Like, I'm looking at you through Justin Prince's reels in social media. I haven't even followed you since yesterday. Yeah. That's awesome. But I saw you. And like Justin's around hundreds of people. Yeah. And I'm like, who's this Tony guy? Yeah. He's different. He's wired different. There's something that I feel like I'm attracted to, this energy that this guy's got. And I'm going to meet him one day. Yeah. And then Ty yesterday, we're up filming. And he's like, hey, Tony's in town. And I'm like, what are the chances? Oh my gosh. Let's see if I can get him on the podcast. Like, that would be so cool. So thank you. Oh my gosh. Super grateful, Eric, for you being a part of this. You know, you're crushing. Like, you're someone that I'm so excited to be, you know, a part of your circle now and get to know you more and, you know, do great things with you. And you're a stud, and I just love your value. And now, you know, Ty was telling me your story a little bit coming here and last night, and I'm like, man, just another champ. You know what I mean? I love champs, man, because those are the people that, you know, just inspire me. Like, I always think about being inspired every single day, right? And you can get it from 1,000 different ways, and you're definitely one of those ways. So thank you, bro. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate the kind words. Where do people find you? Where do they connect with you? What's the best place for them to find you? Instagram and Facebook, and then also my website. So basically, you can go to sarahandtony.com. Right? So sarahandtony.com, and that's our website. They can go to my Facebook, Tony Zolecki, or Instagram, my handle, Tony Zolecki. Awesome. This is somebody that you want to get to know for sure. Yeah. Somebody that you want to reach out to if you're hungry, kind of like you were. If you're a hungry individual and you have that energy, this is somebody that you want to get to know. So again, thank you for being here. Guys, if you like this episode, if it brought value to you in your life, please share it. Share it with your friends, your family, whoever you feel like could use this episode. That's how we share the value. We got to have people share it. So appreciate you guys listening this far, and we'll see you next time.